su ustrajni. Neumorno su dolazili u Medjugorje u manjim i većim
Pilgrims from distant small countries were persistent in their coming here. They tirelessly came to Medjugorje in smaller or larger groups. They would return home inspired by the desire to do something of what the Queen of Peace was asking from us. They were especially active in establishing prayer groups. With the same tirelessness, they were inviting someone from Medjugorje to visit them. Finally, we agreed to pay a visit to them. Father Slavko Barbaric wrote in his travelogue from his travels to Hong Kong, Macao and Taiwan. The travelogue was published in the Peace Gazette Glasnik Mira in March 1994. In the second half of January 1994, we promised that someone would come anyway. We asked for the consent of the local church authorities, that is, of the bishop. The invitations were there. Faxes have arrived that the bishops were waiting for us, that they approve of our arrival and that they themselves would like to participate in the events. When we failed to send one of the visionaries, we reported it to the organizers. They felt sorry for that, and after all the preparations were made, on January 15th, I went with Milona von Habsburg to the countries of the Far East. Today, Milona von Habsburg witnesses about the memories of her trip with Father Slavko to Hong Kong, Macau and Taiwan. Hello everyone. Today we will recall trips to Hong Kong, Macau and Taiwan. Father Slavko went there 27 years ago, and each time he traveled somewhere, he would only go with the purpose of spreading Our Lady's messages. He always thought about who should go, which delegation from Medjugorje. People asked a lot and wanted someone to come. When the visionaries could not, and when the other Franciscans were also prevented, he said he was going. And then I went with him as a translator. I just followed. I did not do anything. I just translated every word, every question, every conversation, everything. I remember that wherever we were, Father Slavko always only repeated what Our Lady was saying, and he prayed a lot. Every day during the apparitions in Medjugorje, he was connected with Medjugorje. He was connected with Medjugorje constantly. He always prayed at the moment when Our Lady was appearing in Medjugorje. Wherever we were, it was like that. In Hong Kong, Macau and Taiwan, we were always in churches or monasteries or somewhere where there were people who wanted to know, who wanted to talk, who wanted to pray. There was no tourism in our visit. Maybe we would look at something for half an hour or stop somewhere for a bit, but really it was nothing about tourism. He was a true priest, and 100% a priest, and only an apostle. He was a genuine apostle of peace. He was very pastoral. He always revealed more and more the people of God where God is present. When we were with the Chinese, he finally said how profound they were. We do not understand how they function, yet they are so profound. He loved that. He revealed how great God is, and it has always been so. He always wanted more. He always documented everything, wrote chronicles, because he knew that it was important for the history of Medjugorje and for the people here. He knew that what was going on here was important, and he always wanted everyone to know what was going on abroad, so the people here would not lose strength. Indeed, it was hard to be there all the time and only see the pilgrims and not know where people come from, what they experience outside and what happened to them, so they decided to visit Medjugorje. And that is why it was very nice to accompany him and to translate his talks. I learned a lot, of course, and I saw how strong he was. Sometimes I was really tired, sometimes half dead, while he, nothing, just got some sleep and continued. When it was necessary to translate, I went with him. When it was not necessary to translate, I talked to the people who drove and accompanied us, with the nuns who worked, cooked, etc. I was with the people working in the back. backstage practically with those invisible ones. He did everything that was needed. The bishops were present as well as many people, and all this is still very much alive in me. When I read how he documented it all comes back to me, of course. But I think the most important thing is what he did there. He never said, now we will discover something new, now we will enjoy something new. Never. Already on the plane he would start praying. Sometimes he even confessed flight attendants. People saw that he was a priest. He was a priest everywhere. It was so nice to see what power lies on the priest. He did his best. He never went to get anything ever. Nothing. I know that 100%. If there were any gifts, he immediately gave it to others as soon as he returned here. That was Father Slavko. This has been the case in China, South America and Australia, everywhere. When he was alone, 100% like that. And when Maria or even were with Father Slavko, then the dynamics were a little different. But there were always meetings and meetings. Conversations with people, their questions, just brotherhood. When the Holy Father speaks of dialogue, I think it means that we must talk to one another and understand that we're all brothers and sisters. Father Slavko lived it. Many times I think of Father Slavko when I hear the Holy Father speak about this, because that is how Father Slavko lived. It is a school for me, Our Lady's school. That's how I understand it. He was 100% Franciscan, 100% priest, 100% Herzegovinian, and 100% Medjugorje in heart, and that is a very precious pearl for me, very valuable. In his travelogue, from his travels to Hong Kong, Macao and Taiwan, Father Slavko wrote that he was very surprised by the richness of the Chinese tradition, which we Westerners could never understand clearly enough, and that is why we remain very impoverished. We also saw the temple of the Goddess of Mercy there, Father Slavko wrote in his travelogue. The story of her is very simple. She lived on earth piously and simply. When she passed away, she saw how much suffering there was on earth, and moved by such a deep misery, she stopped her going to the heavens and returned to earth to help. This is how Chinese believe and hope. It was not difficult for me, therefore, to explain the coming of the Queen of Peace, who sees all of our misery and trouble and all the dangers of war and all destruction, and comes to earth to warn us and to help us. When I asked them what the Chinese sign of peace was, they explained to me that the roof of the house was drawn, and under it a woman with a child.